Hey everybody, Mr. Smith here. In this video, I'm going to show you how to divide polynomials. Last week we talked about adding polynomials, subtracting polynomials, and multiplying polynomials. Now this week we're going to talk about what happens when we try to divide them. So there's two ways that we're going to divide these things. The first way is long division. So that's what this video is about, long division with polynomials. Okay, so I'm just going to dive right in with an example. So I have x to the fourth plus 3x squared plus x plus 4 divided by x plus 3. Here's how we're going to work these problems out. It's kind of a long process that might look kind of weird upon first glance, but it's actually just a repeat of the same general thought process over and over and over again. And once we do it a couple times, I promise it won't be that bad. So we're going to start by taking the divisor, or the thing that we're dividing by, and we're going to write that first. So x plus 3. And then I'm going to put the dividend, or the bigger piece, inside of this long division sign. But before I do that, notice how there's no x cubed in this polynomial right here. Okay, so when I go to write it in here, I'm going to write it underneath this division sign. When I go to write it in here, I have to include a 0x cubed because I'm missing an x cubed in the original polynomial, and you'll see why that is important. If you're missing any term in the sequence, you have to make sure you include that as a 0 when you write it in there. Okay, so this looks like a long division problem that maybe you did back in elementary school, and the process is really going to be exactly the same. Now we're just dealing with variables instead of all numbers. So here's how I'm going to start. I'm going to look at the first term in my divisor, which is x. And I'm going to ask myself, what do I need to multiply x by in order to get x to the fourth, first term in my dividend? So what do I need to multiply x by in order to get x to the fourth? And that is x cubed. I'm going to put that up there. And then what I'm going to do is multiply x cubed by each one of these pieces in my divisor. So I'm going to do x cubed times x. That's x to the fourth. And x cubed times 3 is plus 3x cubed. All right. And maybe you remember from doing long division back in elementary school, once you get to here, you're going to subtract these things. Okay, so x to the fourth minus x to the fourth should cancel, and that should always be the case. And 0x cubed minus 3x cubed is negative 3x cubed. And that is why I needed to add in this 0x cubed, because if I didn't, this would be x squared, and I wouldn't be able to subtract these things. So now that we've done that, we're going to take the next term in our dividend and bring that down, drop it down. So it's plus 3x squared. I'm going to add that right here, plus 3x squared. So now that I have multiplied by x cubed into both of these pieces, I've subtracted, I've brought down the next term. Now I'm just going to repeat that process, except now I'm going to ask myself, what do I need to multiply by x in order to get negative 3x cubed? So the next first term, okay? I need to multiply that by negative 3x squared to go from x to negative 3x cubed. I need to multiply by negative 3x squared. So I'm going to multiply both of these pieces by negative 3x squared, just like I did before. So negative 3x squared times x is negative 3x cubed, and negative 3x squared times 3 is x squared. And I just repeat the process. I'm going to subtract negative 3x cubed minus negative 3x cubed. Cancels. Again, that's what I want to happen. Negative 3x squared minus negative 9x squared. That's like I'm adding. So it's 12x squared. And I bring down the next term, which is just a positive x. We repeat the process. What do I need to multiply x by in order to get 12x squared. That's just plus 12x. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply that. 12x times x, 12x squared. And 12x times 3 is plus 36x. Repeat the process, we'll subtract. So we're just going to keep doing this until we run out of terms, okay? So 12x squared minus 12x squared cancels. And x minus 36x is negative 35x. And then I'll bring the final term, which is a 4. I ask myself, what do I need to multiply x by in order to get negative 35x? It's just negative 35. So I'll go ahead and multiply all of that. Negative 35 times x is negative 35x. There we go, negative 35x. And negative 35 times 3 is negative 105. Sorry, negative 105. Let's use a calculator if you need to, negative 105. And then we go ahead and subtract one more time. Okay, so this will cancel. 4 minus negative 105, that's like I'm adding, so that's positive 109. And now notice that I don't have any more terms to bring down, so that's my signal that tells me I'm done. So I don't have anything else to do. I've finished dividing, but we're like, well, what the heck is going on with this? Why do I have this 109? Well, if you remember when you did long division back in the day, you could end up with a remainder. And you could end up with a remainder. That doesn't mean you're wrong. That just means that x plus 3 does not divide into this polynomial evenly. Okay, so we have a remainder. That's totally fine. So here's how we're going to write our final answer. All right, final answer is going to go like this. You're going to take the stuff that's on top, the quotient that you ended up with. So that's x cubed minus 3x squared plus 12x minus 35. And then to write your remainder, here's how that's going to go. You're going to do plus the remainder, which is 109, over the divisor, which is x plus 3. So I've got the remainder from right here, 109, and I got the divisor from over here, x plus 3, the thing that I was dividing by, all right? And then obviously the quotient came from what was on top. So this is my final answer. I know it's kind of big, I know it's kind of ugly, and I know this process might seem a little long, but it is just long division from, it's just the same thought process of long division that you did in elementary school, okay? So let's do one more example, and that'll wrap up this video. One more long division problem. So again, I'm dividing by x squared minus x plus 1, so I'm going to write that first. X squared minus x plus 1. And then I'm going to write the dividend, the thing that I'm dividing into. I need to look and see if I'm skipping any terms. And again, I'm missing x cubed. So I need to make sure that I add in a 0x cubed. So it'll be this x to the 4th plus 0x cubed plus x squared minus x. Now we're ready to start. All right, so we're going to do the exact same process. What do I need to multiply x squared to get x to the 4th? Well, it's just x squared. So I'll multiply this by all three of these pieces. X squared times x squared is x to the 4th. X squared times negative x cubed. And then plus x squared. I multiply by 1. And then subtract. That will cancel. 0x cubed minus negative x cubed. It's like I'm adding, so that's positive x cubed. And 2x squared minus x squared is just 1x squared. All right. And same as before, I'm going to bring down my next term. So that's a minus x. And then I can repeat the process. What do I need to multiply x squared by in order to get x cubed? Well, that's just x. So let's go ahead and multiply that. X times x squared is x cubed. X times negative x is negative x squared. And x times 1 is plus x. So let's go ahead and subtract. We'll cancel. X squared minus negative x squared is a plus x squared, so that's 2x squared. And negative x minus x is negative 2x. And I'll bring down my final term, which is a 5 plus 5. Okay. And one more time, what do I need to multiply x squared by in order to get 2x squared? Plus 2. So I'll multiply 2 by all three of these terms. 2 times x squared is 2x squared. 2 times negative x is negative 2x. And 2 times 1 is plus 2. Plus 2. There we go. All right, so I don't have any more terms. I just need to subtract these things. We'll see if I get a remainder. It looks like I will. 2x squared minus 2x squared cancels. Negative 2x minus negative 2x cancels. But 5 minus 2 gets me 3. So again, that doesn't mean I've done anything wrong. That just means that 3 is a remainder. Again, doesn't mean I messed it up. Just means I have a remainder. If you get a 0 here, that means you have no remainder. But in this case, we do have a remainder. So just like before, our final answer, we're going to write it like this. I'm going to take the quotient, thing that's on top of everything. So that's x squared plus x plus 2. And then I'm going to do plus the remainder 3 over divisor x squared minus x plus 1. And this will be my final quotient. That's my final answer for this problem. Okay? So if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. We will practice this in class the next time I see you. Until then, we'll see you guys next time.